As you see up here, we have the four candidates that have decided to join us today. And what I'm going to do is introduce them by name, have them come on up, and we'll get started with our form. Right now, it's my pleasure to introduce, and I'll go in order. These were randomly selected placards, the station of the placards, and of course, the questions are, like I said, in sealed envelopes. Were shuffled, or will be random, and the procedure of the questions asking and answering is sequenced. If everyone wants to review this afterwards, it's in writing and it's here at the chamber. We do that just to make sure everything is fair. I'd like to introduce Mr. Justin Blake, and please come forward. Mr. Russ Bogue, please come forward. Matt Monica, and David Peters. And please take your respective seats. Thank you. Now, as they get comfortable, I just want to point out again, the use of the website with this today's question and answer was very, very important and instrumental. And we're going to encourage that for many future meetings, not only scheduling, but also to make certain that we solicit the ideas and concerns of our chamber members. So with that, I'd like to, if you are ready, I would like to start with Mr. Blake, and we will give him a 1-minute opening statement.
Hi, my name is Justin Blake. I am currently elected to the Board of Education in Palm Springs Unified, and I'm serving my 5th year. I am running specifically because as much as I love the school board, and I'd planned to be there all my life, last year California cut public education by 18% and gave the prisons a 2% raise. And I want to find out what can be done about that, because I know that education is the engine that drives economic recovery. We can't have businesses if we don't have an educated workforce. Without businesses, we don't have full employment, and employed people pay taxes, unemployed people don't. That's why I'm running, and that's why I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Hey, glad to be here. Russ Bogue, conservative Republican candidate for the 37th Senate District. Quite frankly, a minute isn't enough. So hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about my positions as we get into the questions. First, what does Sacramento need to do? Sacramento's doing a good job of thinking about protecting their own jobs. They ought to start thinking about yours. We need to start creating jobs in Sacramento. If I get elected, I'll do 3 things. Help create jobs, cut government spending, and help reform education. And as we move along in the debate today, I'll talk a little bit more about that. Glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Mr. Monica.
Thank you very much, Ken. Bobby, Dina, thank you for facilitating this. Well done. Excellent turnout. Thank you for all being here. Just a couple of comments, and I'll share some thoughts later. The website regarding the Chamber and the Transportation Committee is very impressive and informative. Just a couple of thoughts. I'm impressed with the competencies of the Chamber, networking opportunities for business referrals, interest of business in government, political action, ensure a favorable business climate. You have over 1,000 businesses, and that equates to 55,000 jobs. What I also love is your support for legislation on behalf of business and incentives, as well as the fact that you're against job killer programs. The Transportation Committee, SR 91 would not work as well if you didn't have that. The Chamber was active in bringing $195 million in 2007 to improve 91-215 and the crossroads between I-15. The Chamber is seamless with the business community and very supportive, and it's an opportunity for us to be here. Thank you.
Mr. Peters.
Hello, my name's David Peters. I'm a Hemet resident for 39 years. I'm a Republican. The number one issue in my mind or opinion is a balanced budget. The state needs to have a balanced budget on time so our council members, our supervisors, our school board members know what the funds that they will be receiving. And that's the number one issue. And then I have some other issues here, and I'm sure I'll be asked about them, and I'll answer them.
Great. Thank you very much. We're very fortunate to have four qualified candidates up here at the table accepting our invitation. And gentlemen, thank you very much for participating today. Our first question is going to be for Mr. Blake and then Mr. Bogue. Mr. Blake will answer first, and the question is the state government too big or not big enough? How will you change the current structure?
I've always advocated quality over size, and I don't know if it's too big or too small. I know it's dysfunctional. And so I don't think that that's really what we need to concern ourselves with. We need to concern ourselves with getting people in Sacramento who want to solve problems rather than to endure their own slavery to personal ideology. And what was the second half of that question?
How will you change the current structure?
How will I change the current structure? I will change by sitting down with people, whether they are a Democrat like myself or not, and looking for rational, sound solutions to well-defined problems, instead of posturing to protect oneself and one's reputation and run for re-election from the day that I get there.
Thank you.
Yeah, my answer to the question is, yeah, it's too big. Since I left the legislature, since about 2005, we've added 40,000 new state employees. What other industry in California is adding that many? When I left in my leadership position, for those of you that don't know, I used to be in the legislature, the general fund spending was around $87 billion. The very next year, it jumped up to $102 billion. The year after that, it jumped up to $103 billion. We did exactly what Gray Davis got recalled for. We started to see improvements into the economy, and what did folks up in Sacramento do? They started spending, and they started spending. And ladies and gentlemen, the Republicans did it too. After I left the legislature, the Republicans are to blame because they went along with the bus ride. So it's too big. I'm out of time, and hopefully we'll talk to you a little bit more about some of my ideas on how to make it more efficient.
Thank you. The second question is going to go to Mr. Monica and Mr. Peters. And Mr. Monica, you'll answer first. This is one of our web questions. I am a construction worker. My wife is a teacher. What percentage of our gross income should I expect to pay fairly in taxes and fees to support our government?
My understanding is it's at least 50% these days, and it gives me an opportunity to share with you the tax system is not working in California. The bickering between the two major parties, nothing can be accomplished. It's not working. As an American independent, I can bring change to that, and I think we need to offer relief and look at the tax structure, realign that, and also offer incentives to couples in terms of medical benefits and other services for their children. We simply are not doing a good job regarding any of those programs. It hasn't worked for 20 years. I've been a school board member for 24 years and been active at the state and county level as a delegate and director of CSBA, California School Boards Association, and we need to find relief. We need to find incentives. We need to find changes. There's simply too much government, and it's leading us around. We, as a group of constituents, should be leading the government around.
Thank you, Mr. Monica. Mr. Peters.
We're talking about state government, so I think 5 to 10% income tax is a reasonable amount, is about what we pay right now. I think the question, what people want is they want their tax dollars spent well. And they want their tax, and one of the things, the main thing I think everybody in this room wants is safety for our family and our children. And so the best dollar spent is on the prisons and keeping these monsters in jail, these violent criminals. That's the number one thing I think that we need to spend money with. Number two, I think, for me, my personal experience is the roadways. I don't know how much time I waste being stuck in traffic or construction. And this is the time to be spending money on construction. Because our state, all these businesses, construction businesses, need work right now, and they're willing to build roads at a reasonable price.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.